My name is Jan Dick and I work at the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. The centre has 4 different locations and our headquarters is in Wallingford in the south of England. We also have a station in the north of England at Lancaster and one in Wales at Bangor, but I work in Edinburgh, the one in Scotland. The BioDT project has use cases and ours is looking at ecosystem services. So I selected a cultural ecosystem service because I think there is a lot of work already being done in terms of the production and the regulating services.
Yeah.
So the cultural service that we selected was recreation, and we are working in the Cairngorm National Park to start with because that's the area I know best. And we have a model parameterized for that area for recreation potential. This model works in a way that you select characteristics of the area which are important for recreation, and then they are scored by individuals. And we have it parameterized for soft recreationalists and so-called hard recreationalists. And the hard recreationalists are the people who are like mountaineering and climbing Munros and are very tough people. While the soft recreationalists are much more like myself, who like a walk in a forest, for example, beside a river, a calmer and a more gentle pace. So we're starting with only these 2 parameterizations, but our aim is that everyone who logs into the app will be able to then parameterize that for themselves, to customize it for themselves. So that will be an area that will be an aspect of the digital twin, which will tell you about the recreation. But on top of that, we have this aim of biodiversity in the BioDT project. And for that, we're using another model and combining them called the Decide tool. That is being created by my colleagues from Wallingford. And what they are doing is looking at the maps and the citizen science data, the occurrence data. And of course, there are areas where the world or the UK is very well known what the biodiversity is, but there are areas where it's not well known, just there hasn't been many recordings. It doesn't mean the species are not there, it means that they don't have recordings for those species. So they have created an app where people can go to areas which are poor in knowledge, not necessarily poor in biodiversity, but poor in the knowledge of the biodiversity. So our aim, hopefully, is to combine those 2 models to create a digital twin which has, for the Cairngorms, because that's where we're starting, to an area where in the morning a tourist might decide that they want to go near a river for some reason, and their map will show them all the areas that they might think about going to recreate, but they might decide that they want to go to an area where there is poor data use at the moment. Not many people have been there and reported what they can see there. So they would go there and they would report whether they see particular animals or particular plants, and that would give information to many people, gives information to future people who want to go there that there is some probability of seeing a particular species. It gives information to land managers and park authority managers that this animal or plant is there. And this allows management of the area and management of the tourists. So our aim is to have all of these different stakeholders finding the digital twin of value to them. It's interesting because when we first set up the recreation model, we were working primarily with the managers of the land, and we set it up and then we asked people what they thought of what we had delivered. And many people were saying, it's good, it accurately reflects the recreation potential of the area. But tourist industry people, hoteliers and tour operators, what they liked about it was that it allowed them to target particular areas for different people. So they had a completely different use than what we had originally considered. So to answer your question more specifically, on one side there's the recreationalist, the wildlife enthusiast, and the citizen scientist, who is all wanting information from the digital twin. And of course, they're also producing information for the twin. You also have the land managers and the park authority and the government agencies who are putting data in as well from their knowledge. And together, those six different groups are all learning more about the park and delivering information more about the park. As I say, it's a park because we're working in the Cairngorm National Park. But this digital twin should be transferable. And we're hoping in the next year, once we have it up and running, to parameterise it for different areas. The BioDT project is excellent for bringing people with different expertise all together. So we have the people who are exceptionally clever and can program the HPC computers, the big, powerful computers, and they're looking for people who want to use that. I have a use for that because the people at home are telling me what they want, but I don't have the skills to actually deliver it. So all of us working together will create this product. I mean, none of us could do it ourselves. So it's a real use case with real need. And this is what I understand we will be delivering to the platform. In my opinion, the BioDT project and the European Union for funding it and the UK government for enabling us to be part of it is really important because we are bringing all these different elements that I spoke about before together. In the last sort of century, the scientific community has narrowed our focus. We've become real experts in a little area like cell biology or tourism and human behaviour, all these different elements. And we have needed to do that. The human race has had to focus on these narrow elements in order to make progress. But now we understand a lot of these issues. What the BioDT project does and what all digital twins are doing are trying to pull all of these things together. And it's challenging because even today at this meeting there are people who talk a different language. I spoke with someone who was I asked them what they were doing and they're working in Work Package 5. Well, I didn't know what that was, so he was telling me about mapping ontologies. Now the word mapping to me meant like a map, geographical map. A mapping for him meant putting two pieces together and showing the linkages between two objects. So even our terminology takes time for us to understand each other. And there's a real aim of digital twins integrating knowledge, but it's an expensive process because as individuals it takes a step for us even to understand each other. But having gone the narrow way for the last century, I'm really hopeful that the next century will pull us back into integrating all of this knowledge.